excited.
Okay, so I chose ASA Service Dogs in Lakeland, and I chose this one because it was like the closest one to me that no one had already chosen, and their website had a lot of information. So I was like, okay, like if they never respond to me because they took like a week to respond, I was like, at least I have most of the information. Um, so they have a storefront in Lakeland, Florida that trains for any individual in the United States. They specialize in emotional support dogs, therapy dogs, and then, of course, service dogs. The service dogs are trained to be of any service specific to the person, with special programs for autism service dogs and PTSD service dogs. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So basically, any money that's paid for the service dog training will just go back into the organization aside from what it costed to board the dog and train it and all that. Um, how do I go to the next one? There we go. So the types of service dogs that they have, the autism ones, PTSD, psychological assistance, wheelchair assistance, hearing alert, POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, mobility support, peanut allergy detection, seizure response, and any other medical assistance. So I asked her how long the program has been around, and she said that the actual program started about 5 years ago. So it's relatively recent compared to just other organizations that I've heard about. And Amanda, the lady that I met up with, has personally been training dogs for 15 years. So she's got quite a bit of experience. And then I asked what the most common breeds are. And the hypoallergenic ones, basically just any poodle breed, like regular poodles, labradoodles, golden doodles, and then the non-hypoallergenic, so the allergenic, Labradors, golden retrievers, Dobermans, German shepherds, border collies. And then I got these pictures from their Facebook. And I asked where the service dogs come from. So she said she gets them from rescues, reputable breeders, sellers. They said they get a lot of dog donations. And then a lot of them are people's personal pets. And then I asked what age dogs are ideal for training. And she said that she likes to buy or acquire the dogs between 6 months and a year and a half of age because temperament testing can begin in the first 4 to 6 months of the dog's life, depending on the dog. And she said that service dogs basically, they mostly retire between 8 and 10 years of age. So the earlier that she can get those dogs in and start the training, the younger the dog can be when she actually gets it to the owner, and the more use they can get out of that dog before either the dog has to retire or the person just can't physically take care of the dog's needs anymore due to old age. So the traits that are being searched for in a potential service dog, the lifestyle of the owner, the lifestyle needs of the breed are taken into consideration, housing situations, family member requirements, whether the dog needs to be hypoallergenic or not, the temperament and the energy of the dog, because they just want the relationship between the person and the dog to work out best for both of them and not have a dog that's, meant to be used for one task, trying to do something else. They just want everything to work out perfectly with what fits best for both. And I was kind of interested in the seizure response dogs because I never really understood how those worked. And she said that they use cotton swabs on the owner during the times of seizure, panic attack, or other things where a quick response is needed. So they take the swab and anywhere where like you have bodily fluids being produced, and so they use those swabs to train the dog to respond so that the next time it happens, they can just smell it on the owner and react immediately. And I asked if they can predict a seizure, and they said that there is no guarantee that they can predict a seizure. But the more that they're exposed to that, there is a possibility that they can detect them very soon. And they alert the owner by pawing or pacing, and they can help in different ways, like getting a phone, getting like an EpiPen or alerting family members, or just making sure that the owner doesn't fall straight on the floor. And I asked if there was any breeds not acceptable for training because I was curious about pit bulls, because I do have a pit bull myself. And she said that any dog is welcome to be trained. In terms of breed, it's just really the temperament of the dog and how they react to other dogs, children, loud noises, any kind of stimulus. And she said that any dog, of course, like both of you have said in your presentations, that any dog that shows aggression is just immediately out. But she said that this doesn't mean that they can't be used for any service. She said that they do it case by case. So if a dog shows aggression in one way, it might not be able to be a service dog, but it could be used for like an emotional support dog, things where they're just at home, they're not really interacting with other dogs or other people, where that would be a problem. How long is the training time? So anywhere from 4 months to 2 years is the combined evaluation of a dog and then the training of the dog. And for the person, she said that a 2-day training class in service dog handling is required after the dog has finished training, just so that the owner gets to understand how the dog works, how to do certain commands, and basically how to utilize the dogs. The training for the person is one-on-one rather than a group, which I thought was good, because that one-on-one is necessary because every person and every dog is different and they need to work together. And refresher training is required once every 6 months as a minimum. And for people who get the dog and bring it out of state, videos are fine. She just wants to see them working with the dog over the video. And the cost for training ranges anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. And all of that just goes to boarding the dog and feeding the dog and all those things during the training. And I asked her who is qualified to have a service dog, like if there was anybody who gets rejected as a person rather than rejecting the service dog. And she said that when she communicates with the people prior to the service dog being assigned to them, she's able to just understand like how mature they are and how serious they are about needing the service dog, about how they're going to utilize the service dog, because she said that there's a lot of cases where people think that the service dogs are just magic, or they're going to be just babysitters for these people who are, handicapped. And she said that that's not the case at all. And that's why the family considerations are taken into account in the process, because although the owner of the service dog can understand the seriousness and how to use them, everyone else in the household or anyone who's around them and the dog really needs to understand what's going on and what they're like and what their needs are. And then the certification process. So they do the certification testing at the location in Lakeland. So for their certifications, they have the ASA service dog, ASA therapy dog, and ASA emotional support dog certifications. The testing is video documented, which it didn't say why, but I'm thinking maybe so that they can look back on that and they can see how they've changed over time or something like that. So they're given an ID, a certificate, and a vest at the end of the certification. And then for out-of-state inquiries, that's something that their website highlighted on, and I asked in person about. Amanda was the woman I met, and she likes to meet the family in person, not just the person who is getting the dog, like the whole family, anyone who's going to be around them, and just determine the seriousness of the members and, what their opinions are on the service dog. So the people have to travel here to pick up the dog, and they have to spend at least 26 hours here in Florida to, pick up the dog, receive the training, and spend time understanding the dog. And she told me that other programs like people to be here for about 2 weeks. And she said that she thinks that's unrealistic in a lot of cases. Like, yes, it's better that way, but, some people just don't have the capabilities to travel out of state for that long and spend that much time here. And I asked her what the youngest person was and the oldest person was that she's ever trained a service dog for. And she said the youngest was a 7-year-old boy and the oldest was a 70-year-old woman. And she just said basically like there's no age restriction on whoever she will do a service dog for, because the service dogs just do so many different tasks that, you know, you can't really limit it to age because they can do so many things for so many people of different ages. So the application process, you pay a $40 fee. Once that's paid, an application form is sent to you. They fill it out, return it, and then anytime within 15 days, they receive communication on basically like what the cost will be, talk about special considerations, the waiting time, and then a successful conversation will then lead to the setup of an appointment to work towards obtaining a service dog. And so just a little bit more information. Training lessons are offered at the storefront, where appointments are also made. But Amanda, the one I met with, meets clients outside of the training facilities, such as the Lowe's that I met her at. And so at the Lowe's, the dog and the person in training were around just all these different people and noises, because at Lowe's, they're just moving heavy things all the time with big equipment. So I thought it was a really good place for her to do kind of like sensitivity training with the dogs and the people. And there was just a lot of praise and communication with the dog, looking at the body language of the person and the dog. And I thought it was just really cool that I got to actually experience someone training a service dog right in front of me, and watching the person who has the dog also kind of learn how to utilize the dog. And the training is just specific to each person, each dog. So these were the pictures that I took while we were there in the Lowe's. And on the left is Amanda with her service dog who's already been trained. And on the right is the client, and she had her service dog in training. And so in conclusion, their motto is helping people one dog at a time, which, you know, I think it's a smaller organization, because I don't know why I forgot to ask this about like how many people they have, but looking at their Facebook, you can only really see like 3 common people throughout all the pictures. So I think it's a small, relatively new organization where everything's personal, and this probably makes the waiting times a lot longer because it's not a big organization. But there does seem to be a lot of focus between making sure the dog and the person are comfortable with everything, and they just make the perfect fit. The Lowe's that we met at knew her well, because we couldn't find her at first, and they're like, oh, she's here all the time, like 3 times a week. So not only was I able to ask her questions about the animal service, I was able to observe it, so that was pretty cool. And then these are my references, and that is it.
Target is really awesome as well for training service dogs.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, when we were training, it was like, you know, every couple minutes something would go off and there'd be loud beeping or something being dropped, and the dog didn't really react, which was good. But it definitely seemed like a very good place to train a service dog.
We always had this Target, and it was at the end of a mall in San Diego, and it was we chose it because it had a 2-story escalator in it
Mm-hmm.
for training the dogs on escalators. But we would always go, the Target would open like 2 hours before the mall did, so we would go really early in the mornings on like Saturday mornings when nobody was there.
Mm-hmm.